Oh, you guys are live.
As our friend and big brother and Lord and Savior Kevin Smith is out on the road. This year, it's because Dogma has hit its 25th anniversary, so he's touring it because that's how he rolls. And when he rolls out into the world, we come back here and we do a little thing that I like to call Blackman Beyond, because more often than not, I'm by myself to talk about a movie I saw or a TV show that I love or whatever the fuck is happening. But today, I get to talk to my friend, Akela Cooper. Um, you may or may not know Akela Cooper because she's fabulous. You may or may not know her because she's an incredibly talented writer. You may or may not know her because she likes to podcast on a Friday night a little tipsy. But
Go ahead.
if you know her because she is a dominating horror screenwriter. She wrote Megan with a 3 in it. She wrote Malignant. She wrote The Nun 2. She's been on television shows galore. And I thought, who better to talk to about Ryan Coogler's Sinners than my horror friend, Akela? So,
Hello.
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, usually when I see Akela, it is either like a football Sunday and one of us is irate, uh, or thrilled. Usually it's irate because it's
I mean,
fun.
it's still kind of football related. It is day 2 of the draft.
It is indeed. Um, did the Rams get anybody good?
We got a tight end, which we do need.
Mhm.
And then we drafted a defensive lineman, which was kind of confusing to me and my Rams friends. We thought we were going to go for a corner on the O line, but
Mhm.
I have to trust in the McVay Snead magic. So,
You know,
you know,
we will see. We will see come August
yes.
how the team is beginning to shape up. But we also talk about horror movies. We also talk about movies. We talk about television. We talk about the things we love. We talk about the things that bother us. If there's anybody who I like going to the movies with and then standing in the parking lot or the lobby or the walkway or the vestibule for like an hour, figuring out how to make that movie better, um, is Akela. So
Oh.
it is luckily we get to talk about a movie that does not need a lot of sort of Monday morning quarterbacking, which is fun. It is, as much as you guys think that I love to hate shit, the truth is I way more enjoy just being pleased by a film, just being taken away, just being diverted from the world for a couple of hours and to not shut my brain off because I don't believe in that, but I even in allowing it to activate in a joyous mode as opposed to a frustrated mode. So we're going to talk about Sinners today.
Yeah.
But first, how you doing, Kayla?
Good, good. Um, I am one of the lucky people in the business who's kind of busy right now, so juggling multiple things and hoping one of them gets off the ground as per usual with our business.
Mm,
Um, yeah, you got multiple balls in the air and you just hope one sticks.
I mean, that is all you can do.
Yeah.
Whether you're working or not working, all you can ever do is spin plates.
Yeah.
And the weirdness of like, and I remember feeling this way when I was still a journalist, and like journalism at the day job, and then writing comics and pilots, and just trying to get to that next level. It's like, man, one day I'll just have one job, and that day has never come.
That is the thing. Like, I look back at people in this business I admire. Like Quentin Tarantino was a big influence on me. Like Pulp Fiction blew my wee little Missouri mind
Mm.
when I saw it. It's like he does one movie every so often, and yet he seems to be able to afford and live a good life. And I'm just like, how? How?
Well, because
When the rest of us are like busting our ass, doing
yeah,
multiple things, and it's like, and I still am watching the bills pile up.
I mean, the answer must be there's a shit ton of money to be made if you have a sort of pop cultural sensation.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know what that level of money is, but it must be enough to allow a dude to like, you know, just luxuriate in possibilities.
Yeah.
for a couple of years, and then like maybe that's the movie I'll make, and then take a year to write it, and then we make the movie. And somehow the bills are still getting paid.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me.
You know, I've never been that person. I don't know if it's because, growing up upper lower class to lower middle class, like you just having jobs.
Hmm.
You were just working, and there was no real coasting. I didn't know anybody who got to coast. So it has just never been the way that I thought about it. But I'm like, man, wouldn't it be nice to just like have one thing you have to do?
Yes,
And
just
then when you're not
one.
doing it, you can just like read a book for fun.
Man.
Okay, I haven't read a book for fun in years.
I still read for pleasure. I will say that. Like, I have made a point since the pandemic that, like, before I go to bed, I put on like one of those background noise, like 8-hour YouTube videos. Mine
Mhm.
is it's a jazz playlist. It's not the blues, but it's a like soft cafe jazz with a
Ooh,
light rain coming down, and I read and decompress from the day and decompress from looking at screens.
man, I feel like your mental health is stronger than mine is.
And we'll talk about that offline.
I instead like, hey, so I can play Call of Duty for like 45 minutes and kill things
True.
and then go to sleep, which I'm sure is super healthy.
See, I just fantasize about killing people, and then I'm like, that's going in a script. And if nothing else, the stress of this day has afforded me a new violent way to punish those who have been pissing me off, fictionally.
Outstanding. See, you got to live a life to then bring it to the work,
Yeah,
especially if the work is killing people.
yes.
Big fun. Um, so yeah, it's we're gonna kind of talk about Sinners a little bit. We're gonna talk about, as Akela and I very often do, my love of horror from afar, from a distance. Um, but vampire movies, for whatever reason, I mean, I know they are horror, but they never
Hmm.
quite feel like horror to me. Because most of them don't relish so deeply in the gore.
No.
There are some that do, for sure,
Yeah.
but it always feels more like supernatural thriller than horror. Um, Jump scare is not a big thing that I get out of a lot of vampire movies.
Mm.
Um,
Which vampire movies are you watching?
well, older ones, which is best.
Bella Lugosi old? Is there like anything after him?
But like Near Dark does not have a jump scare, near as I remember.
No, no, it doesn't.
Um, you
It
know,
does have gore though.
it has some gore, like, but it's gentle gore. It's like it's blood from a neck, and I get it, and I'm cool with blood, and that's fine. But there's a
Like, didn't they kill a bunch of people in the bar? I need to watch this again now.
they do. I mean,
Yeah.
there's murder. Murder's cool. That's why we're all here.
But
Uh,
you're saying it's not like Hellraiser.
it is, which I also don't mind. Hellraiser's sadistic and twisted, um, but like it's functioning on a cerebral level. Like Clive
Hmm.
Barker knows how to get underneath and just make things so fucking unsettling
Hmm.
that that's where the horror comes from. Like it's ooh, like it feels like you're rotting from the inside,
Yeah.
um, which I can appreciate. Like Wes Craven, I love Wes Craven,
Yeah.
because it's all like, here's a thing that you're afraid of, and I know you are because it's somewhat universal, as opposed to, can I chew my own leg off to get out of this trap, and then can I saw game escape my way out of this movie, and that is not, I'm not that cat. And so vampire movies don't seem to be that kind of movie
Hmm.
for the most part. Um, because vampirism, at least as I understand it, is a metaphor when it's used in fiction. It is almost rarely the thing. It is a way to let you talk about other things. Um, and
What other things?
well, lots of times it's sex. Lots of times it's a fight against repression.
You mean a male vampire with sharp, pointy phallic object piercing a young virginal maiden's neck and bleeding happening is a metaphor for the sex?
Mm. and there's moisture everywhere, and there's lapping of tongues. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that. It's also like I remember when there would be vampire movies in like the 80s, and it became sort of this metaphor for AIDS and for disease and for
Mm.
the fear of it somewhat got intertwined by bloodborne viruses, and so that becomes a thing. Like it's somewhat malleable as a metaphor. In the 90s and the 200 and the 200s 2000.
I'm like, how far back are we going, man?
Yeah, the first one. But it then became like a metaphor for loneliness. It became a metaphor for like
Mhm.
isolation. It became, we are getting increasingly distant from one another. And so then you get like let the right one in. You just get
Yeah.
lonely fucking, like only lovers left alive, like lonely fucking vampires, you know. And then you got like your Blades, which is like, we're gonna have a great time with this. This is gonna be kind of fucking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
You've also
so
have like the British and then American remake of Being Human, where his vampirism was addiction,
mhm.
was the metaphor. He was a drug addict.
Yeah, which I think is a lot of like even the 60s, like
Hmm.
60s, 70s, and then early 80s. You definitely hit you know, the fucking crack fiend vampire version of it, or the hippie vampire. It's like, it's a cult, man. We're just a
Yeah.
family. Just a group of guys who likes doing the same shit. And there's like always one girl here.
Which kind of comes back around. We'll get into it, but like the cult aspect is in Sinners.
Totally, totally. Ryan did his homework in lots and lots of ways. Um, but so I want to talk about, as the resident professional horror expert, um, what are your favorite vampire movies? What are your like? Let's if you want to do three, we can do three. If we want to do five, we can do five. We can do as many as you want.
Okay, I'll do top three and then like runners up, I guess, or something. Like
Mhm.
favorite of all time, probably Bram Stoker's Dracula, like 1992. Absolutely love that movie. Flaws and all.
Mm.
Like Keanu Reeves does not bother me, nor does his weird ass British accent. I love it. And you want to talk about like, vampire movies aren't necessarily scary when Van Helsing and Harker and they all run in to try to save Mina in the insane asylum after like she's had some of his blood. And it's just her like it's still in the pose from where he used to be, and that bat just comes down into frame. Like, if you've never seen that, like that scared the shit out of me. Mind you, I saw it when I was like 10, but very scary. And then when he like backs into the cupboard or whatever, and like it's just the red eyes, and then he turns into rats. That's some cool ass shit, man.
Very cool as
I
shit.
will say, I will say that is the bat into frame is like an incredibly good jump scare for a vampire film. So Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then number two, the original Fright Night with Chris Sarandon, which is a horror comedy. Um, and that's just, I don't even think at that point Jerry Dandridge was a metaphor really for anything except for being hot as shit.
I mean,
Um, and like, or maybe it's like the fear of like the other coming into your lily white neighborhood and gentrifying it in the wrong ways. But I do love Fright Night and then Blade,
mhm.
which you cannot go wrong with Blade. And it's like Blade is more action movie than vampire film. It is about vampires, but obviously it's not horror. It's just sci-fi, genre-esque. Runner up From Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay, all right. I mean, I From Dusk Till Dawn was on my list. It got cut from my list. I do love it, but it always felt like half a vampire movie to me
Because it is
because it is. Then again, so is Sinners. Sinners is
true.
half a vampire movie. Um, okay, so I'll do my three, knocking off the ones that you just did because why would we repeat these things? Um, Near Dark,
Mhm.
um, Catherine Bigelow's first film, which that's not a bad way to come out of the gate.
Nope.
But
Wait, was that her first film or was The Loveless her first film?
I thought it was Near Dark was her first film, but
Okay.
we can we can
I
we can
mean, we
take
can.
to the IMDb and see exactly how wrong I am.
Oh no,
Um,
you might be right, but I'm just like the Loveless was in there, and that was one of her early ones.
hmm. um, but it's the thing that I loved about that movie was it's all fucking atmosphere. It's all mood.
Yeah.
It's all, granted, takes place mostly at night, but it's just all, again, it's about loneliness. It's about this, Adrian Pasdar, wet behind the ears, Adrian Pasdar, just like as a guy, fucking a horny dude in the middle of nowhere who stumbles upon an incredibly pretty girl who then leads him down a bad road. It's very Lost Boys in that way.
Ah, The Loveless, 81, Near Dark, 87.
You win. You fucking win. Um, which always happens anyway. So
I don't know why I'm celebrating that, sorry.
I'm used to disappointment. Um, um, but yeah, and I mean, I'm a Lance Henriksen, fucking Bill Paxton, Jeanette Goldstein, like my love for those three people, um, transcends. It's the James Cameron players, and so I will always
Yeah.
love those three anywhere. Um, but it's sad. It is so terribly sad of a movie. There's no triumph at the end of Near Dark. There's just
No, when the guy who's like the kid, like he got the
mhm,
like he's running after the little girl because like that was gonna be his size appropriate companion, and she
yeah,
gets away, and he's just like running in the sun as he's burning up because like he wanted a friend so badly.
sad. All right, so that one, What We Do in the Shadows, um,
Ooh.
you know, Taika, Jermaine, um, also a comedy,
Hmm.
straight up and down a comedy, like, but it's a pretty fucking legit vampire movie.
Hmm.
It is just not attempting to scare anybody at all ever. But it does have a deep love for the genre. I might like the TV series better than I liked the movie. Matt Berry goes a very, very long way.
Oh yes.
But yeah,
It's it's also the difference between like movies and TV. It's like the longevity of TV means you spent way more time with the What We Do in the Shadows vampires, getting
mhm.
to know them and their hijinks and loving them than the film.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing we were talking about offline. The benefit of a long running TV show
Hmm.
to allow you to just like, what, we're in season 6. We can do whatever the fuck we want. And like, let's take some big swings. Or let's be exhausted and not know what we're gonna do. And all right, one of these guys is gonna move to fucking Tucson, Arizona and be a
Jackie
bartender.
Daytona, Tucson, Arizona.
But I love that franchise. But I also love that movie. And then finally, Let the Right One In.
Mm.
Um,
Wait, remake or original?
the OG.
Cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
have
not.
you read the book?
I've never read the book
The book is
because
really good.
is
When
that
you get a chance to read for pleasure, sir.
yes. Tell me about this magical day. But yeah, no, I that is the loneliest movie ever. That is just it's about, the new kid who moves into town and just trying to make a fucking friend, and the misfit who is not friends with anybody and is being picked on by it's all teenage angst with the
Mhm.
benefit of what if your new best friend was also this? What if she could solve all of your problems? What if you
Mhm.
fell in love? What's that version of your life? And I think that's the metaphor of it.
Yeah.
Um, my honorable mention, the two vampire movies I remember as my first vampire movies was Once Bitten, Jim Carrey and Lauren Hutton, and Love at First Bite with George Hamilton
Okay.
and Susan St. James, where George Hamilton plays Dracula.
So they're both comedies.
They're both comedies
So
because,
do
like,
you think that kind of had an influence on how you saw vampire films going forward, that the first two were comedies?
like, I guess I'm trying to think about what movies my parents would have let me watch.
Oh,
And so, like, on not even basic cable, I don't even know how I encountered those movies. Must have been just on fucking TV, or somebody rented the VHS and brought it home. But they're like both PG movies and they're both
yeah.
silly, but they're both vampire movies. And that was my maiden voyage into the world of bloodsuckers was Jim Carrey and George Hamilton.
Yeah, little bit different for me. And I know my mom is watching tonight, so she's gonna be like, "Don't say it, don't say it." It's like my parents let me watch everything with them.
That does explain quite a bit.
Hmm. Yeah, it does.
um, so Sinners has now been out for, I want to say it,
2 weeks.
solid 2 weeks. It by the end of this weekend, it is projecting to have made the projections are it's 107.5 million domestic, um, which is already better than Creed, its entire theatrical run. Um, it opened strong, not like through the roof, like 40 mid 40s, like 45, $46 million, I think was the opening weekend. There are hundreds of movies that have opened stronger than that. Many of them are not original. Many of them do not have almost entirely black casts.
Nope.
But the thing about this movie and what it's doing is the cinema score is huge. It's an A cinema score, which I think is one of the rare horror movies to ever get a
It
cinema
is. It is the first.
score. I mean, Megan was super close. I mean, Megan was like a B plus.
Yeah, I think it was. It was like that's not no. If
Um,
we were going for valedictorian, what was is Sinners or Megan? It's gonna be Sinners. Like that's a whole great difference.
it is, but you're still on the dean's list, so that
Yes.
um, but what it's doing is it's holding better than anybody expected it to do. Um, Traditionally, when movies open, they open at whatever number they open at, and then the second weekend um, can be a somewhat perilous drop. It's
Hmm.
usually somewhere between 40 to 50, sometimes 60% of the people, fall away because they saw the movie. They're the only ones who want to see it opening weekend. Everybody who wanted to see it saw it. Sinners is holding relatively strong. Sinners drop off is something like 20, 25% instead of 50, 60%, which means that not only are people who already saw it, do they like it, they're telling other people to go
Hmm.
see it. And those other people are liking it too.
Yes.
And the legs of this movie are going to be such that, like, you know what? Warner Brothers spent a fair chunk of change. I think the budget's like $90 million. They do need to clear a multiple of that with prints and advertising and promotion,
Yeah.
all that shit, but they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Everybody will be fine on the other side of this movie. It is not Joker 2. In the how did we lose this
Yes.
much money? Um, it's it is kind of astonishing, especially given, all of the reasons why conventional wisdom is such that a movie like this won't do well. Conventional wisdom is there to be disabused. And this is a movie that's doing it.
It is. It is. And we got to talk about the fact that like there are certain Hollywood insiders and certain studio heads who are probably shitting bricks
Yep.
because it's like it's not like they're actually going to change anything about how they choose to make movies. Let's just be honest. Like to the people who are like, "Oh, will this help, black-led horror?" Probably not.
No.
They are going to find every other reason that this has success or that it's an anomaly, quite frankly, because they do not want to accept that it's doing so well and that it is possible to have an original idea that you put marketing behind that can make money. Because it means a lot of these execs and studio heads would actually have to do their goddamn jobs
We don't
and
want.
develop things, new things. They don't want to do that.
No. I mean, I think that, one of the reasons why Sinners got to be Sinners is that Ryan, and his producers at Proximity and Michael B. Jordan showed up with a package and they said, here's the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to develop this at all, Warner Brothers. Here's a script. Here's the cast. Let's go make a movie. Here's the budget. And also, you have to give me the movie back in a quarter of a century, because I have a hot hand. And right now, I'm going to gamble.
Yeah.
And I'm going to push all my chips in and say, I think this is a movie you want. You've read the script. You know it's good. Here's the price. Here's the cost of doing business these days. And Warner Brothers paid that price. And like it's an unconventional deal that he gets his ownership back. It's not unprecedented. You know, Quentin Tarantino owns Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
And at the time, nobody seemed to care that much that Quentin made a good deal for himself. It was
I
comment.
didn't even know that was part of his deal until the shit with Coogler hit the fan, and then everyone was like, "Oh God, this is gonna destroy studios." It's like, but it didn't when Quentin did it.
No, it was fine when Quentin did it, but when Ryan wants to own his movies to
Mm.
leave something behind to his family when he passes in 300 years, because he's also a vampire, um, suddenly it's the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah.
One of these things is not like the other.
Can't quite put my finger on it.
No, it's a little difficult.
Yeah, yeah. What's the difference there?
I don't know.
But fuck
Um,
it. Kudos to Ryan Coogler, man.
I mean, again, if you're on a streak and you're feeling it and you know you have the goods, then bet on yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's like one, Ryan is incredibly talented. Like, point blank period. That is undeniable at this point. It was undeniable before. Like, look at what he did with Fruitvale Station. Look at what he did with Creed. He revived a dead franchise, quite frankly. And then he went on to do Black Panther. I will say for those, out there who are like, what's the secret to like getting an original movie made like this? It's like make $1 billion movie before that. Like having worked with, James Wan on Malignant, like the only reason James got to do Malignant was because Aquaman had made $1 billion and Warner Brothers was like, yeah, you go do that. As long as you come back for Aquaman 2, we don't give a shit what you do right now. And
Yeah.
so he got to go make Malignant with no interference.
It's like keep the budget to this, go do whatever you want. And so yeah, like all you have to have done is made
Make
some
$1 billion movie.
Like,
And the world too is your oyster.
and I have a very limited amount of experience with Ryan. He was the executive producer on Ice of Wakanda, this Marvel Wakanda animated show that I worked on at this point now, like 3 years ago, which is coming out this August. And he was in the middle of shooting Black Panther 2. And he like hopped on the Zoom one day. And so we got Ryan for like 4 hours and just got to, pitch him story and hear his thoughts and his ideas and whatever. And it's a smart fucking cat. Like he has definite ideas. Not all of them operate on the same wavelength as the other ones. Like there are some that are all super interesting and super interested, but like didn't fit in the show for whatever reason, and that's the process. Like that is just how TV works. You all show up and you all throw things at a wall, and some of those things will coalesce into a show, and the other things are all awesome, but just don't fit.
Yeah.
And but it was an enthusiastic couple of hours and an encouraging couple of hours because like Ryan is a fucking ball of energy. And Ryan believes.
Yeah.
And I think that's, a movie like Sinners only exists because somebody deeply believes in it and believes that there's value in it and there's value in doing it this way. And he's a guy who's like fascinated by history in a way that I am not. I write science fiction so I can make shit up.
Yes.
And so looking at Sinners, like the first half hour of Sinners, and everybody who's on this Zoom, everybody who's here with us on Blackman Beyond, everybody who's listening at home, we are going to spoil Sinners. We're going to be as gentle as we can in those spoilers.
Are we?
I mean, there's some shit we're just going to give away. We are now 2 weeks out of opening. If you were
and you were watching this podcast live when we're talking about it, so
yeah, granted, like as we're saying, word of mouth is beginning to spread. People are coming to it somewhat later, and so we'll be mindful of it. But we're going to talk about some plot shit.
I'm literally trying to think is like, what can I spoil right now just to piss some people off?
They're twins. You got it. But the first 2/3 of the movie, pretty much, well, the first half of the movie is a look at life in sort of Jim Crow era Clarksdale, Mississippi in like the 1930s. This is what this town felt like. Here's the demographics of this town.
Mhm.
We are with the black people on the side of town. We're with the brown people on the side of town. We're in, sort of black supermarkets and Asian markets, groceries. We see tamale stands, to signify that there had been Mexican Americans
Yes.
there. Um, the Great Migration had taken people north, and some of them have returned, including the two protagonists, Smoke and Stack, who are twins, um, who had come back from World War One, went to Chicago to become enforcers for the mob, made a bunch of money, probably by illicit means.
Oh, fuck that. They stole that shit.
They stole all of their money. They worked for Capone and stole money and wine from him. They worked for the Irish mob, stole money and beer from them, and came back home to Clarksdale, Mississippi, to open a juke joint. And the texture of all of that is incredibly rich.
Hmm.
It feels authentic in a way that,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I'm not 100 years old, and so did not grow up in that time, and B, I'm not from the South, so I'm taking it all as read, but you can feel that there is a deep research that went into it and
Hmm.
some deep love that had been deployed in crafting it.
Yeah.
You are from the South.
Yes.
How what was your feeling about the vibes?
It fit. It's like because my mom's side of the family is from Mississippi.
Mm.
So, like, my grandfather grew up there, like, I believe a generation outside of slavery. Like, my grandfather's father had been a slave. And so it's just like watching it and, growing up, even into the 80s in southeastern Missouri, before people are like, Missouri is not the South. It's like, it's a whole thing. Yeah, it is. Especially where I grew up. Um, you know, Even when I was a little kid in the late 80s, early 90s, picking cotton was actually still a thing that you could be employed to do, to the point where my mom, like, I think my sister might have done it, and then my brother wanted to, because it's like, you get X amount per bag or whatever. My mom was like, no, you two, like, my brother and me, she's like, I'm going to have members of my family, basically like my children, there will be someone in my family who did not pick cotton. Like, and she put her foot down about that. And so, like, I grew up on a farm anyways. My father was a farmer, soybeans. So we still worked on a farm. It just wasn't picking cotton, which at some point became a sore point for my mother. But it is, from the photos that I saw of my grandfather, it is very authentic. Down to people being barefoot. Like, nobody had money for shoes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, just picking cotton barefoot, running around the woods barefoot, like, hoping you don't step on anything or get bit by anything. It was it was like being transported back. I think the only thing that I was kind of missing was just like a shot of the Mississippi River itself. Like, to just bring everything home.
Just show me the muddy river.
Yes, I mean, I grew up like the Mississippi River ran through the boot heel of Missouri. So, like, it's always there.
It's always there. Um, and the movie seems to be orienting itself around kind of these two ideas, freedom and power, and the brothers played really well by Michael B. Jordan. Like,
Oh yeah.
playing twins is like no easy thing to do, especially because it's not like you can do the movie as one twin, go do the movie as the other twin. It's
Yeah.
you're bouncing between those things in scenes. Like, there was a sort of body double or an acting double that Michael B could act opposite so that, like, he
Hmm.
could do fucking scenes, and then the tech would come into play towards the tail end of it. But to keep all of those different frequencies, all of the different mannerisms and ticks and style and swagger that's different, but not like volumously different, right? They're still brothers who have like
Yes.
the same upbringing. Um, but it's the shades that make it work, and the modulation that he manages to pull off. It's like, oh, you know what? Fucking go get that shit, Mike.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no.
Um,
I dare say it's like it is probably the best single twins performance since Army Hammer and the Social Network. And I know it's like Army Hammer, yeah. Um, he was a decent actor in the Social Network,
you
with
know,
making the Winklevi
mm-hmm,
differing twins. But it's like also you're watching Michael B. Jordan, and it is, like a school of subtlety.
mm-hmm.
And it helps that they both did, someone pointed this out on Blue Sky. It's like player one and player two costumes,
Yes.
color coded. But it's, Smoke is serious and he carries the trauma of, spoiler alert, having killed their dad to protect his little brother. So you can kind of get the sense that it's like, okay, Smoke is probably older by however many
Right.
minutes and feels like he's the protector of Stack.
Right.
And Stack is, life is hard for a black man in the South on a plantation. I am going to find joy wherever and I am going to smile.
Yes.
Like,
And Smoke lost a child. You know,
yes, there's
Smoke
that.
is all tragedy.
Very much so.
Very much so. And yeah, Stack is like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have a lot of sex.
A lot of cunnilingus that we'll also get into later. Though here is, I'm going to be bad Kayla right now because yes, Smoke and Annie lost a child, but like my mom's mother had, I want to say 9 children,
Mm,
and 2 of them were what they call blue babies, which is we now know are stillborn
right.
kids. And I'm sure they were probably sad, but also back then, children weren't really expected to survive and that's why on a farm you had so many of them. Also, there was no birth control, and that's a whole other thing. But I was kind of like moved by how emotionally involved he was
Mm-hmm.
with a dead infant, because it's like the attitude back then was shit happens.
Yeah. It is a tricky thing trying to add modern morality to a period piece that would have had a very different, to your point, perspective on infant mortality. Which is like, again, not to make it feel slight or insignificant, but that's why you had a baseball team worth of kids,
Yes.
because like not all these kids are going to make it. Somebody's
Nope.
going to die from rickets. Somebody's just going to like whatever, run over by a tractor, stolen by vultures. Shit happened on the farm.
They're not possums.
Well, when they're small, you just lift one out of a bassinet, not too hard. A big bird could do
Yes. No,
that.
it was I was like, oh, it's a bit, I'm like, okay, and it was, maybe it's because it's their first one.
Maybe, and like he wasn't, maybe he went off to war, and unclear
I
what.
think like because he does say it's like, why didn't your magic save our baby? So I think it's like, I like to imagine that, like, if not her arms, the child died in his arms. Like,
Yeah.
that created that emotional tie there. And again, it's like, I can see coming from his character in this film, like he is the protector of his brother. So when he has like this little black child and there's nothing that he can do to protect it,
Yeah.
like nothing. It's like Superman realizing he can't save his dad from a heart attack. There's nothing, no power in the world is going to stop death when it happens.
Yeah. And this is, like we were talking about before, like the idea of power as a real kind of, you know, axis that the spokes of these movies revolve around is like, you have no agency to save a child you can't save.
Mm-hmm.
You have no agency to really set your own path and your own course in 1930s Mississippi. You are still subject to the whims of everybody else in the world.
Yes.
But the smokestack twins, come back with guns and with money. And that is the closest thing to agency that they have even though, as the movie will tell you, it is still not enough.
Yes.
There are still rules they have to play by. There are still like things they can and cannot do. There are still places they can and cannot go. There are still people they can and cannot be with.
Yes. And
Um,
they're aware of that because, like, they say that when, Mary, the white passing woman, Haley
mhm,
Steinfeld's character comes in there. It's like when they're at the train station, they're both like, "Oh shit, I cannot be seen
yeah.
talking to you," because any sign of any kind of disrespect or lechery, I'm gonna get lynched.
Mhm.
And then even Smoke is just like, she can't be in here.
Somebody could see we let a white woman in here.
And then
And
it's like, and then we have a bigger problem on our hands. Like they knew, but I also love the fact it's like they knew and yet they threatened the head of the KKK regardless.
I mean, I think we're led to believe that Stack didn't know he was the head of the KKK. He just thought he was buying it from a white dude
No,
who.
but he says it's like, dude, if you and any of your clan buddies, like he probably didn't know he was the Grand Wizard, but he knew he was KKK because he
Yeah,
says it. He's like, if we see any of you and your clan buddies on
yeah,
our property, we are fucking you up. Not
yeah,
the exact dialogue, but it's the sentiment of the dialogue.
pretty much.
And then the white dude is like, ain't no clan. And we're like, fuck you.
Yeah, I will shoot anybody dead who steps on my land. Is basically what he says. Um, but yeah, so power and money and proximity and intimacy in lots of ways. Because when we first meet
Is
Mary,
it lots of ways or is it one specific way?
it is almost every time we talk about sex in this movie. And one of the things that's actually incredibly refreshing about this movie is that it's super sensual.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is very much. I mean, yes, you can sort of feel the heat of the sun, you can feel the dust of the ground, you can feel the sweat on everybody's skin when they're inside a juke joint.
Yeah.
Like you can smell the fried chicken cooking in the giant vats of lard. Like it is very much about conjuring that stuff. But when I tell you that this is a movie in which sex is almost always both described and depicted as cunnilingus.
Who's have I been waiting to yell that at you for
Pretty much.
48 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Akela and I were like, this is probably DJ Khaled's least favorite movie.
He is not a fan
No.
at all. Napoleon would have gotten a kick out of this though, from what
Oh,
I understand.
100%. But it is like the first time you meet Mary, and when like Smoke is like, you got to make her go away. She is at the top of her lungs telling anybody within shouting distance, you ate my pussy and fucked me raw, and then you couldn't even like you. Then you left in the middle of the night. It's like, oh,
Even I'm just like, I need you to lower your voice.
it's too much.
Where did the other white people in this scene go?
We're all going to die.
But it was also, it's just like how she said it. It's like, you said you wanted me to leave, but then you were shoving your tongue in my coos and you fucked me so hard. And I'm like, did she just say coos?
Yeah,
Did she? She did. Coos? Yeah, it was. Okay.
yeah, and then like
It's
there's
it's a word that I probably haven't heard since the 80s or the 90s as describing a vagina.
yeah, and I had only heard in like period movies talking
Yes.
about the past. It's like Full Metal Jacket. They're talking about coos. We're on coos
I
hunt.
just want to picture Ryan Coogler writing this scene and knowing it's like, you know what, I've used pussy. I've used pussy a bunch. I gotta find another word and just pulling out like a period appropriate thesaurus.
Yeah, word of the day calendar.
It's like, what's another way to say pussy in 1932? Coos.
Excellent.
Done.
No notes, sir. No notes. But yeah, and it's like it is the focus of at least 3 or 4 scenes.
It is literally the first conversation you have between cousins.
Yes, between Stack and Sammy, who is the ostensible protagonist of the movie, as the young preacher's kid who is also a blues singer, who is forced to choose which path he wants to go down, the path of the righteous, which is singing in church, or the path of the sinners, which is playing the blues at their cousin's soon to be open juke joint. And yes, like first conversation is like an instruction manual. And then he puts it to use later on in the movie.
He does. Good for him.
I mean, it's Chekhov's coups. Like you can't just show me that and not fire it.
Someone in the comments right now is pretty much like, that's my band name. I call dibs. I call dibs on Chekhov's coups as my band name.
And coups is so close to cuz. It's just
that's why I'm like, did she say coups? C-O-O-C? C-O-U-C? What? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure, it was just one of those, I haven't heard that word in that context in a very long time.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
But also it's like it's Mary with Stack again very loudly at a train station.
Mm-hmm.
It's Stack. I'm starting to sense a pattern here. It's Stack talking to Sammy when they're driving, and then pushing forward a little bit, Remick when he's trying to show what is Mary? What is the Asian woman's
May. I think.
May. Was it? Yeah. He's trying to show May, it's like, I have your husband's memories. What is the thing he says? Like, I know how you like to be licked. It's like, was there any other avenue? Not that I am opposed to, promoting cunnilingus in a healthy, consensual way. But it's like, it's a lot.
It's a little bit like, hey, Quentin, we know you have a foot fetish.
We really do.
We've discovered this, and we're telling you we see you. Really? Wait till the next movie.
Oh, God, yeah, and it's just, he's like, I know you know. I know you know. Here's a close-up, motherfuckers.
Yeah, just fucking unwashed feet. Just on the glass. Put them on the glass.
Put them on
the glass. But yes. Listen, hey, I'm not gonna kink shame anybody.
No, but that's not it's not a kink. It's like, unless it is him being like, I'm gonna put as much pussy eating in my movie as I possibly can and watch everybody freak out.
I mean, I also think that it's effective marketing. It's
for pussy eating?
Yeah. Like, listen, fellas, if you were like DJ Khaled and or Batman, like maybe think about it.
Not the Catwoman meme. Wow, it's been a while since I've remembered the Batman eats no pussy discourse from Twitter.
When we were young.
Yes.
Those were the days.
But it is someone on, again, Blue Sky pointed out, it's like Ryan Coogler being, a heterosexual, cisgendered, straight man, being a good example for other young men who are going through a loneliness phase, apparently, right now, and not knowing how to approach women or, be better people. It's like, eat pussy and do it well.
Just fucking get in there, kids. Just take that hill.
Now I just see soldiers charging up a hill to a giant vagina.
It's the mound of glory. Just get up there.
Oh my God. Weird children.
I mean, never not children. And so, the plot of the movie is not desperately complex. It is, two brothers come to town, one open a juke joint. They build the team they need. They find Cornbread, their bouncer. They find Delroy Lindo as the harp player. They got their blues prodigy, played by Sammy. Well, Miles Canton is the actor's name. Mary tags along because, apparently we can't shake this would she be?
I want to say octoroon.
That's where I was going.
I also don't want to sound like an old white racist.
Fair, but the one drop rule is in effect, and it's like her grandfather was half black.
Half. So then her mother's a fourth, so she is an eighth.
Right.
So she's an octoroon.
Indeed. We got it. We
I
did.
mean, if there's one fraction black people will know,
Yep.
it is those.
You got to say with those words. Are
Mm-hmm.
you bad at math? Not that math.
Yep.
That math I got. And they have the sort of Asian American couple who are, going to cook and going to serve and paint signs, and they built the fucking Avengers of opening up a juke joint.
Yes. It's Bo and Grace are the Asian couple. I want to get that right.
And then we have Remick. We have our bad guy, played by Jack O'Connell, I believe his name is.
Mm-hmm. Who is actually Irish, I do believe.
Who's actually Irish. I mean, I'm not sure if you can fake that dance and not actually be Irish. Yeah, you can take choreo classes, but I think that's in the blood. And like Remick is an interesting character in that he's a vampire. We don't know how old he is, other than, vampires are usually old. I think he does make some reference to like some shit that happened hundreds of years ago. But it's unclear exactly how long he goes back. But he is a musician, and music is his thing. And when he hears Sammy perform his very first song in the juke joint, he is transfixed and obsessed, and not for nothing, but so the fuck was I. Because that sequence, if you haven't seen the movie, if you have seen the movie, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, it is the first time we see Sammy really perform. And then the first time we see the juke joint kind of come alive in a real way. And it's the conceit of the movie is that the blues specifically has the power, or a blues singer. There are special rare cases where a singer can perform, and he's a griot, he's a storyteller, he's some kind of conjurer, but the music can sort of take you back and forth through time. It can pull things from the future, can yank things from the past. Everything gets to exist all at once. There's a continuity and a timeline of history and of music and of culture. And so this sequence is like it begins as you'd expect it to begin. It begins with a guy playing a guitar. And halfway through it, like there's a kind of woman in tribal dress who just kind of swans in and out of the frame. And then there's like a dude from Parliament Funkadelic playing an electric guitar. And then there's a dude on the fucking wheels of steel fucking scratching and cutting. And then it just becomes this celebration of Black music from the beginning of time into the future. And it's beautiful. It's like I literally started to cry a little bit. Like I'm like taking off my glasses and wiping my eyes because like it is such a fucking swing. It is such a like I want to do a thing that's beautiful. And I'm making this $90 million movie to get to this fucking scene, which is transcendent and glorious and wonderful. And it embraces culture and music and history and all of it in this just kind of amazing fucking bouillabaisse of style and sweat and heat and music and dance. And yeah, it's just fucking remarkable. I'd never seen anything like it. And that's what attracts your bad guy. It was like, I want some of that. I'd like to appropriate that because this is that kind of movie and everything means something. There's nothing in this movie.
I can't do it myself, so I'm going to take it.
I'm going to take it. Whether or not I can use it the same way you can, whether or not I have the same.
Well, he was. We'll have to talk about that plan, but I want to say it's like that sequence is beautiful. And like having seen the film twice now, I think I appreciated it more the second time. I am going to be the bad Black viewer. The first time I saw it and it happened, like, I guess I had forgotten the explanation at the beginning. And there's also something, and this is me, I admit it's just me, where it's like, if it's in the past, like with the, for lack of a specific tribe or country, African dance, like the ancestors coming in and doing the thing, I'm like, oh, he's opened up the veil. That's really cool. By the time P-Funk came in, I was like, what the hell? It took me out of the movie I was like, oh, that's right. She said future. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, there's a DJ. Oh, we're in the 80s now. Oh, okay. 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 Oh, we're back to the ancestors. Okay. Like, I got the past. The future threw me for a fucking loop. And I realized immediately what he was doing, but I was still, it's like on a merry-go-round and you just kind of let go for a little bit. And it's like, whoa, hold on. Like, I got to pull myself back in and center myself because I was just thrown for a little bit. I do have questions, and we can talk about this now or later, about what that said about the mythology he was trying to create because you also had Grace and Bo's
Mhm.
ancestor, but nothing from their future.
No, no.
So that I was like, oh, so I guess anyone who is in the juke joint gets to we get to see their because they're not seeing this. We are.
Right. This is it seems to be an audience privilege POV and not a there are literally other people walking through that bar, I think.
But Remick saw it for what it was. Did Sammy see it? Did Sammy know what was going on? Or was Remick the only one who got to experience Sammy's power?
It's unclear because Remick isn't even in the room. So Remick,
But he's watching. Because like when they cut outside to him, and this is I am going off of Jack O'Connell's expression, which
mhm,
seems to be of wonder, because like you have like the veil has been pierced so that like it looks like the juke joint has burned down and
mm,
all of this is happening around like little mini bonfires. But then when it cuts to Remick and then cuts back to it, they're just looking at the juke joint intact. So I'm like, I think because of also what he wanted Sammy to do, which was play the music so he could see his ancestors, he saw what was happening,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I also got the feeling that Remick, in addition to it being a vampire, was that kind of thing, was whatever a griot is in Ireland, was some kind of musician,
Mhm.
magician, storyteller, the keeper of the flame, whatever that was. Like he was also that guy. So it's a bit of game recognizes game of like, I see what you're doing. Like you have the gift. I used to have that gift, or I'd never had it that strong,
Mhm.
but to your point, I do think that he recognized it as for what it was and
Yeah.
knew that he wanted it. I just don't know how much of it he saw, but or just heard on the wind or whatever the fuck, because I don't think he's outside the joint when Sammy starts playing. I thought it was he's drawn.
Yeah, the music draws him to it. So they're walking up right as inside the veil has been Sammy has pierced the veil inside. But again, if because Remick at some point says, I want to see
Mm,
my people, which makes me think Remick could see what was going because it's like if it's a feeling, okay, I kind of get that, but like just from the dialogue and like I want to see my people, it's like Remick was expecting to take Sammy and have Sammy play so well that like Grace and Bo, Remick's ancestors would be conjured through
right,
the piercing of this veil, and he could see them as they were however many hundreds of years ago.
right. And it was also unclear to me whether or not it was Remick wanted to turn Sammy so Sammy could do that for him whenever he wanted it, or if Remick wanted to eat Sammy so that he could then absorb that power for himself.
By the memories.
By the minute,
Which
like,
look, if it was eating Sammy, it's like, dude, we don't need your third act villain monologue. Just fucking kill him. This is how I watch horror movies. I'm like, just fucking kill him. What are we doing here? Stop talking.
do the thing.
One of these days, and mark my words, I am going to write a horror movie or some kind of movie where the protagonist actually does just impale or like mortally wound the villain and then monologues while they're dying. So you are no longer a threat to me. You're gonna hear me,
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
but you're not getting back up. That's how you like that's when you monologue. It's the Game of Thrones Prince Oberyn bullshit. Like, kill him and then talk about it while he's on the ground dying.
Yeah, it is one of the things I remember liking so much about John Wick, is that when John Wick is going to kill that kid, he just kills that kid.
Yes, there's no talking about it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just gonna walk up, bang, bang, and walk away. I mean, might be slow motion, but that is not some protracted scene where I gotta feel your pain. I've got to watch you bleed. It's like, no, I'm just here for the death.
No, just double tap him. He's still breathing. Be like, you killed my dog, bitch.
You know what you did.
That's and it's satisfying for John Wick that he's dead. You don't need to talk about it.
Yeah. Your father told the audience why he's doing what he's doing. So
yes, several times. Villains don't need to know.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, but I also wrongly again. I need a hat that says "Bad Kayla." When, spoiler alert, everybody, the Klan comes in. I was like, why are y'all showing up so fucking late? Don't you assholes lynch people in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Did you have to get 8 hours before you came for the lynching? Really?
I mean, listen, he was fat and tired. So maybe like getting out of bed at like 1 o'clock in the morning was just like, listen, they'll still be in there in the morning.
How did they anticipate that? It's like, oh yeah, like sun comes up, because it seemed like it was like 6:30 in the morning at that point. It's like, we'll just get the stragglers who are coming out and not the whole. I can't believe I'm actually like fictionally trying to help the KKK here, but I was just like, y'all are really late.
I mean, I don't know what like alarm clock technology was like in 1925. Like,
it was a rooster, and that rooster was like, you know what, I'm good.
Just snoozing a rooster. Lazy Clan, says Jay Solomon in chat. Yeah, I mean, of all the people to get the characteristic of lazy,
it's like, yeah, no, you can't be lazy and be in the Klan. No lazy Klan members.
You gotta be a go-getter.
You really do.
Yeah, you gotta want it.
And they did not.
They did not want it, but they got it.
And I love that sequence. I was just like,
yeah, it is the closest to the not to keep invoking Tarantino, but it's the shooting Nazis in a movie theater. I'm just like, you know what we're doing? Just this.
Yep.
All day, just hosing down fucking Hitler's fucking council.
Though, can you imagine being Smoke after going through the night he had to go through and then being like, fuck, the Klan's coming. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Just one more fucking thing I gotta do.
But also, I like the fact that he knows, like, you know what? This is going to be my blaze of glory. My woman has already told me she's going to be waiting. Takes off the protection mojo bag. And you can see him being like, you know what? I am done with Mississippi. I am done with this world. I'm going to the next one.
It is very end of Gladiator. Or it's just like, I want to go and be with my wife and my son, and I just got to do this one last thing, which is kill all these fucking rednecks. And I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna go to the green fields of Elysium and just hang out with my incredibly well endowed dead wife.
Yeah. Also, kudos to Coogler. It's like, shout out to this movie for having like different bodied women being objects of sexual desire.
Hell yeah. Like equal opportunity. Like, because Wunmi Mosaku is a beautiful woman.
Yes.
She's a big girl. She's a big girl, and like is as desirable and attractive and shot as such as anybody else in that movie, if not more so.
Yeah. She gets the same amount of like male gaze of the lens as Haley Steinfeld does.
Totally. And for as sexual and sensual as this movie is, there is not a nipple in sight.
Nope.
Like there's ain't nobody getting it. Well, we probably see more Michael B. Jordan nipple than you see anybody else's nipple. And it's a super sexy movie, but everybody's fucking clothes are on.
There is a prosthetic penis if you look close enough. And now I've put on the pervert Kayla hat. I
mean, I wasn't, but if you say so.
We saw it at the Chinese first, which was digital. So I did go see it in 70 millimeter later. But when Cornbread is taking a protracted piss
Oh yeah.
20 fucking yards from the. Anyways, if you're looking close enough, you can see it.
If you want to see Hog, it's in the movie.
It's there. Also, I want to talk about. Look, I love horror movies. I love Ryan Coogler. There are some choices in this film that drive me insane as a horror fan. It's like I gotta go take a piss. You're a guy. If you're not just gonna piss right there, go around the building.
You don't need to be in the woods.
Like, no, he went all. It's like, and I know why.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was just like, dude, you could have pissed up against the side of the juke joint. Nobody would have noticed.
No, I mean, I think people were pissing on the dance floor.
Probably.
I mean,
Probably.
it's very drunk. Corn liquor is not like a gentle drunk.
Ooh.
You don't ease into a corn liquor night. Like you were just going fucking hard, and you just might lose your faculties. And just keep dancing. That's what the sawdust is for.
Pretty much like a Shakespeare play.
So yeah, and then it becomes a vampire. Like then it becomes, Remick shows up. There's a couple of twists and complications. I did find myself longing for a bit more of them. It gets very straightforward towards the end. It gets very like vampires are outside because there are rules that they can't come in unless we say so. Good guys are inside. Somebody invites them in, and then it's
Look, that is number 2 of my. Really, I am not advocating violence against women by any means, but I would have punched her ass out before she had a chance to say a damn word. Not, I get that he tries to cover her mouth. It's like, what she's doing. Like and it's Grace. When Grace is like, aren't you a soldier? Don't you believe? Like, bam. Like,
no.
right in the forehead. She is gonna go sleepy time while we figure this out.
Yeah. Like that was my knock. And it's a gentle one because I still had a good time in the movie.
Yes.
But there's no real planning. There was no real, there's a siege on this bar that is just an action scene. Like there's never really any strategy. There's never really any sort of losing people one at a time. Like there's a version of it that is more like From Dusk Till Dawn. There's a version of it that is more Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. There's a version that's more Aliens, more Assault on Precinct 13, where it's, you're defending a hardened location against an onslaught. And it wasn't that. And that's a choice. And that's fine. And so much of the real estate of the movie was taken, setting the world and setting the stage and building those characters. And I get it. Like by the time you get to the third act, it's like, all right, it's a mad dash for the logo, as they say. But I wanted my protagonists to be a little smarter, as opposed to just, desperate with guns and fire and stakes.
Also, I did like the moment where she had the Molotov cocktail through it, and he's just like, get the fuck out of here with that. No. Yeah, it is very straightforward, and you know my love of Demon Knight, like probably better than anybody. But that was also the whole movie.
Yeah.
Of Demon Knight was Billy Zane trying to get back in and like taking people down one by one. Yeah, it's like, all right, it is a rush. I did want more of Remick's backstory, and this also comes in with the mythology, because he kind of just like, when we see him, it's before Sammy has pierced the veil.
Right.
So he's already there.
Mm-hmm.
And even he as a character says, it's like, I showed up at the right time for that white couple, like to get into their house. So I would have liked it if something Sammy had done. And like seeing it a second time, it's like, I know you have to do like the whole thing in the juke joint, but the moment when Sammy is playing in the car with Stack, and Stack immediately is like, holy shit. Like that little taste, I would have like cut to Remick waking up. Because he's gotten that vibe that something is in the air.
Yeah.
And then because the thing that we don't know is like how the Native Americans found Remick and how long they were chasing him down. It was enough for him to be burning up in the setting sun, but clearly not long enough to kill him. So there's that whole section of like, the fuck just
Where'd
what
you
happened 10 minutes before this?
Right. Where were you?
Exactly. Because he also drops into frame. So like, were you trying to fly?
That
Where are you coming from? Because the natives were really, really far behind him.
hmm
He drops into frame. When it cuts to a wide shot, there's nothing but fields.
Hmm.
So again, I'm like, okay, if we back this film up 10 minutes with him, just on him,
What is that?
what is that? And it's a testament to the film. I was like, I would like to know that.
Hmm. I kept expecting the Native Americans to show back up again at the end.
Oh,
I was like,
I get it. I do kind of appreciate that they were like, yeah, we're done. Bye.
deuces.
Yeah,
Like,
we're
it is
not our
now,
problem anymore.
yeah, it is now white people problem.
Yes. Sucks to be
Who are the
y'all.
white people you want? But I did kind of expect like some third act cavalry thing, even if they died at the end of it. But we've been tracking this dude, we found him, we lost him, we found him.
Or it's like, because you and I talked about this off screen, like the debate about whether or not Annie in 1932 would have known the word vampire
Yeah.
because Bram Stoker's Dracula had only been out in Europe for so long. But if the natives had come back and whatever their word for vampire is, instead of using vampire, which the audience is going to know what they are, it's like we're using that word because they clearly knew what he was.
Right. Yeah. Like and there's that scene where Annie does go through like, are they this? Are they demons? Are they hates? I think was a word that she had used.
Taint, which
Hates.
taint, I think it rhymes with taint. I could be mishearing it, but that's how I heard it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll buy it. I
All
mean,
right.
it's a movie that likes taints.
I know. I was gonna say it's like that's probably what was on my mind.
But that's that idea that not only does she know the word vampire, which it's possible. She didn't seem like a reader of international literature. Um, but the word had been around since the late 1800s,
Yeah.
but that she knew the rules,
Yes. The garlic. I'm like, where did that?
the garlic and the
Where did
stick.
you know that from? Because if you thought, I'm like, are haints and vampires similar in that you can also use garlic on haints too? It's like I just want to know when she kind of realized this isn't a haint. This is the other thing. Let me go get some garlic and
Yeah,
test my theory.
yeah, and I think we also talked about there's a version of it where either Smoke or Stack, having been in Europe for World War I,
Hmm.
had heard those stories while they were overseas. And so then they brought the other half of that knowledge, right? Like
Yeah,
Andy
somebody.
knows Andy knows one piece of it, they know the other piece of it. Together they figured out, oh, this is what we're dealing with, as opposed to Annie just literally having the textbook, you
Yeah,
know, how
this
to
is what
deal
we
with
got to do.
vampires 101. But
Stakes and crosses. Oh, missed opportunity. Because the second she said we need holy water, I'm like, is preacher boy ordained? Does it matter? He's a preacher's son. Can he bless some water right now?
I
Like
mean,
they didn't use anything. Like it
yeah,
didn't come up again.
yeah. I mean, movies are choices. All movies are choices. You know this as well as anybody.
Yes.
And there are the things that you're going to be interested in as a filmmaker, the things you're going to be invested in, and then the things you're like, you know what? This lets me tell this story. This lets me get to the next scene that I'm in love with. Not to say that he was just like, arbitrarily just fucking casting things aside because it was
Hmm.
tropes, but like, every filmmaker has the things that they're interested in, the things they're obsessed with, and that's what they're going to make the movie about. And some things are like, you know what, this works. This I buy this. It
Yeah.
holds.
No, it does, but still, I'm just like, also,
Yeah.
spoiler alert, motherfuckers. Because if you haven't seen it and you still plan on seeing it after I spoil some shit for you, there are two post-credit scenes. Shall we get into those, or is there other stuff? We can always bounce around.
We always listen. It's our podcast. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Going to mythology. This is my third thing. It was like the German 3. When we see, also, you talked about it earlier where it's like at the end, Sammy has to make the choice between joining the church and salvation or playing the blues and hanging out with the sinners. And it says something that after the night Sammy has had, he's still like, fuck Jesus. I am going to play the blues.
Dad, have you ever eaten coos? Because, Dad, that's the life I want.
I want to play the guitar and eat pussy, and that is what I am going to do. And up in heaven, Jesus is like, yeah, no, I get it.
I came here to do two things. Play this here guitar.
Play this here guitar and eat pussy. And I can't keep playing the guitar. Or is it I'm all out of guitar?
My hands are tied to the guitar.
But like we pick back up with him, with Sammy, after this decision in 1992, and he's a super successful blues musician played by an actual buddy guy, which is awesome casting. So knowing what Sammy is capable of, which is piercing the veil, he's been playing for like 60 years.
30s.
Again, these aren't racial fractions, so my math is off.
Yeah, there's no "un" we can put at the end of it. So,
no.
Yeah, it's like
1932 to 1992 is 60 years, right?
Yeah.
So my thought was, has he pierced the veil again? Ever in his career? And did it invite evil again?
I mean,
or is it Sammy and his voice, and that is where the power lies? Or is it with that guitar? Is it the combination?
It gets a little bit muddled because the guitar was the guitar of the Smokestack Twins' father, who was an awful man and killed by us. Like it seems loaded with mojo. So yeah, and I don't know. There's also the version of it, and we see the tail end of whatever song Buddy Guy is playing that night. Did he then just summon fucking Stack and Mary?
I think they said they had been following his career and buying all of his records. So I think at that point they could be like, it's at 1992. It's in the newspaper or whatever. But that is a question. I want to be like, you have this power. Has it happened again?
Sinners too, baby. Eating the blues. Eating my feelings and pussy.
Yes, all of that. No, I was like, and I love, like, they are vampires. Like Jerry Dandridge is like clearly hundreds of years old, but like he dresses like a wealthy white dude would dress in the 80s. He doesn't dress like, that's the difference between like What We Do in the Shadows, which also I was just like, I get it, it's part of the comedy, but like you all should know to wear other clothes at this point.
Like you can shop.
Yes. And the thing, if you watch the opening credits of What We Do in the Shadows, it's like in the 80s they are wearing like 80s punk gear in the little photos. And like, so you have other clothes. Why are you still wearing the clothes you died in? Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, I did appreciate that like the vampires updated their wardrobe.
They did. I mean, he was wearing a Cosby sweater, which like
that was a choice.
I mean, it is. It 100% is. I mean, if I had another, and granted, it is vampires, how you play vampires changes with every movie that's about vampires. Like you can pick, it's the sampler platter of the supernatural, right? Like I want my vampires to look like this. I want them to eat blood like this. I want them to be able to fly and transform into bats. I don't want them to like.
Mhm.
There's a lot of ways that you can play the vampire, but
I want them to be a dead 16th century nobleman with a mustache. You and I have talked about this offline, but like, you know my love of Nosferatu, which I didn't put in my vampire top three or even runner up, even though I fucking love Nosferatu. And you want
dude,
to talk about someone who does research, like Robert Eggers and Ryan Coogler are probably like, someone commented that like Robert Eggers makes movies so he can do homework.
I need somebody to pay me to read all these books.
Yes.
So I guess I'm making this movie.
Yes. And I feel like Ryan is like a lot of black filmmakers, starting with family, because like some of the characters in Sinners are based off of like his family who
Mhm.
grew up in Mississippi, and like that's where you and I will be like, we know those characters, we can like pull from them. It's like, oh, now we have to go do other research, possibly. Not you, because you write science fiction and you
Yep. Don't believe in it.
um
I was an awful student.
Um, but yeah, it's like you start from what you know, and what you know is your family, and you build from that. But it's like, yeah, he and Robert Eggers are probably like the two dorks in the library being like, "Oh my God, have you read this book? There's so much information in this book. It's amazing."
Yeah. But like, because there's so many different ways you can play vampires, Ryan chose to play vampires a bit like, I'm not going to say zombies because they definitely have more uh, words than zombies do, but they are in thrall to
Yeah.
Remick. They don't have agency anymore. They are sort of an extension of Remick and what Remick wants and what Remick needs
Until he dies, because
until
then
he dies, and then
Mary and Stack have agency at that point, apparently.
yeah, then they just fucking jet.
Yeah.
They just go. Um, although he does convince, I mean, deep spoiler, Stack does Smoke does convince Stack to let Sammy live.
Yes.
And that's a scene that happens before Remick is killed.
Yeah.
And so at the very least, like Stack could make his own choice. Um, it's just that once you got down to it, it just became like, do my bidding, and they all did his bidding. But there could have been a version of it, and again, it's all personal choice, where Stack becomes an ally, where Stack becomes like, I don't want to do what you want me to do, Remick. This is my
Mhm.
fucking brother. I am now on the inside and I'm not letting you in. And we two of us as brothers are going to survive this. I don't need to kill you. I don't want to kill you. I love you. We've been through the worst. We've been through worse together. We can, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like just playing them all as lackeys as opposed to you have choice now and you have power. You have real power in a world where power is an illusion. You're a fucking vampire. You can fly. You have
Well,
ungodly.
could they fly, or was it just Remick? Because he was the master. Because also his eyes were red and everyone else's were like blue gray.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they should jump real high. Like the OG Superman, like leaps to a building. He doesn't fly. Um, but just like that, that felt interesting to me in the way that I've talked about Interview with a Vampire, the TV show, not the movie.
Mhm.
But that is very much a story about what happens when you give a gay black man in 1913 New Orleans power, and like what does that change in his life, what does that not change in his life, how does it liberate him, how does it still shackle him. Like it becomes a very dense and vibrant exploration of agency and powerlessness and what it means to have a wish granted even though it doesn't give you everything you thought it would. And so like in a place where you thought money and guns were power, now you have real power. And what
Yeah.
happens when the Klan shows up, like I thought that it held promise. It seemed interesting. Um, but again, that is not the story Ryan wanted to tell. I enjoyed the story Ryan wanted to tell.
Yeah.
Just it is our curse and our gift that we just get to thinking. Like, all right, but what if?
Yes. Yes, it is.
But what if?
It's like, where did he come from, though?
He's,
How long have they been chasing him?
where have you been hiding during the day?
Yeah, in Mississippi cotton fields. Were you in town? Were
Yeah.
you like were you, you know, in a surrounding Louisiana, Arkansas? Like where did
under a bridge somewhere under
Somewhere.
control. But yeah, like, listen, I don't think I've encountered the perfect movie. There are movies that I love deeply. There are movies that I believe are outstanding and amazing. Um,
Hmm.
but
You don't have a movie you think is perfect?
well, I mean, I do. I still have little quibbles about it, but I think Aliens is a perfect movie.
Yeah, same. See,
Um,
I didn't I would have said Jaws for you because you know I love aliens. I mean, it's
mm,
right back there. Um, but yeah, aliens.
Aliens, like, I I am sure there's a thing I could find that I don't love in it, but I don't know what it is because I'm like, it's
It's pacing, everything, acting, writing. Like it's
perfect. And so, like, that is the problem with Aliens, which is there's a version of Sinners that is structured like Aliens.
mhm.
Um, that still gives you all of the character build and all of the world build and all of that stuff, and then all hell breaks loose, and the aliens get inside the fucking LV-426, and then it's problem solving and running and shooting and jumping and how do
That can't be. It's inside the room. I'm reading it right, man. Look. That I mean, absolute fucking gold when Hicks is like, "Oh God."
yeah, just looks up. Oh,
But also like that could have because they had the dude who in Sinners like he passed out from wine and they thought he'd been bitten and there was no there was no vampire in there. But I'm like, Mary has been invited in.
yeah,
She can come and go as she pleases now. And that's what I thought that was gonna be is that like you look up and she's up in the fucking rafters and they've got to do something.
I mean, it's Stack's place. He bought it.
Yes.
Like,
There is also the quibble that it's like, oh, anyone can invite them in. I'm like, no, no, no. If you're going by that rule, it has to be the rightful homeowner.
yes, but
Anyways,
Stack is the rightful homeowner. He can
yeah,
invite.
but
He doesn't need to be hanging out outside.
no, he does not. So that's why you had to be like, oh, it's got to be Grace
Mhm.
because she's emotionally upset.
Right.
Oh, we have like also fucking kudos to Delroy Lindo. You want to talk about comic relief?
Man, that old Jamaican is like he
He's
he has
incredible in this movie.
he has never not given the best performance.
No.
And he's leaning into it. He's playing fucking jazz. He is just like finding the empty spaces and putting funny where, like, I don't know what the script looked like. I'm not sure what the direction was, but that
Hmm.
dude is a fucking gem. And
Yes.
he's just always making it work. He's a team fucking player.
Yes. And it's like go from super dramatic when Stack has found him and like convinced him to come play and they're all riding back and he sees the chain gang and he remembers when him and his buddy were on the chain gang and then he talks about how they played a gig and made money and then he drank it away but his friend was like I'm gonna save it and like tried to get on a train and the Klan caught him and lynched him, which is like another insight into black life at that time because it's like this incredibly tragic and yet all too common experience
Mhm.
for a lot of black men of that era and it's like super serious and then he just uh Delta Slim Lindo's character goes into his own head as a kind of like solace. Like you can see him having music, like he's doing this, and it's just like, oh, you are using rhythm and music to like put the demons at bay. And
Yeah.
then Stack is like, yeah, like, and he tells Sammy to start playing. It's like we
Yeah.
have
Like,
to, in the face of atrocity, we have to move on.
yeah, you see him transform the pain into the blues.
Yes,
And it's kind of amazing. And also the scene, like, on that same level when the customers are trying to pay for their drinks using the
wooden
wood
nickels.
nickels, and just the like, this was the economy. This was
Mhm.
the I'm a sharecropper working somebody else's farm and they don't even pay me in real money. And now I have to try and pull myself up by my bootstraps with money that doesn't buy anything.
Mhm.
But I have it. So can somebody give me something for it? And then the conversation between these two brothers of like, we got to make money.
Yes.
Like, we're not here to do a service for the people. We're here to make money for us. And it's like, but what is the choice? Like, we won't have anybody in this place if we don't do this.
I was I'm with Smoke a little bit though. It's like you need money for operations. Like you can't do this. I would get it if it's like, okay, this is an opening night
Mhm.
special. And if I was Smoke, it would be like, okay, I don't, you've got mason jars and whatnot, but it's like if you can find like a tiny little thing, it's like everyone gets a taste
Right.
of your drink of choice, like a shot. I don't
Hmm.
think they had like, available shot glasses for everybody back then. But it's like, all right, y'all can come, you can get a taste. But after that, you're paying for it.
Yeah. You're not getting drunk for free.
You are not. That is where I will draw the line. Is like, he ain't getting a whole glass of corn liquor.
Yeah.
Like you got 3 dimes, you get. I'll give you 3 shots, maybe 4 shots.
Yeah. You get a finger a dime. Like you want 3 fingers of corn liquor? It's 30 cents, man.
Yeah, and then that's all you get for the night. So
And then savor it.
make it last.
Yeah. Nurse that shit, homie. Um, what else should we talk about?
I mean, I will say I love that first act, which is just being in the world. And again, credit to Ryan Coogler and, all of his production heads and Ruthie Carter for the
Mhm.
costume design. It's like you are immediately dropped into 1932 Mississippi and it feels like 1932 Mississippi. And I have a thing for competent, badass characters like Blade. When he obviously like Blade's introduction in Blade is just like, oh my god, you're just killing everybody. It's incredible. And he knows what the fuck he's doing and he does it. And I will say, like, another good example of this is Chris Evans' character in Sunshine
Hmm.
when he warns them not to go after the second ship because something will fuck up. And then he's proven right. And like he has that moment where like he takes someone's blood and then like places it in Cillian Murphy's hands because he's like, now you got blood on your hands. And like, but he does his job. He continues to do his job throughout, and he's like a competent badass. So when we meet Smoke, and like he's got to like they're behind because the Klansman was late, and then they have to split up, and he's got to go get Bo and Grace, and like he gives the little girl not only a job but a lesson in negotiation. I thought that was it's a really sweet side of him for nefarious purposes. Like he isn't employing a child to be a participant in what is essentially a criminal act. But
Then
he's teaching her good business.
totally like negotiate. You always got to negotiate.
And when the two guys are robbing the truck, and he just comes around a corner, and just like immediately pops him in the ass, doesn't ask questions. Again, just shoots him. I don't need a speech.
Nope.
Then you get a speech, which is a hilarious back and forth. And then he looks at the other dude who is literally just like, I'm just here, shoots him in the knee.
That's the one that I was like, shoot him in the ass. It's like a gentle warning. You maimed this kid.
Yes, you did.
You
He
did.
tried to rob him, and he's like, I can't have you going and telling people you almost robbed. Like, no, he has a reputation to maintain.
He does, but like,
I fucking loved that. I think that is my favorite scene in the whole movie. Even as a horror fan, I'm like, I could watch that scene on repeat.
he it's very Batman. It's very like, I stole a bag of chips and you maimed me.
He also paid for them to get patched up. But again, it's like
It's $20.
he he had a reputation to maintain. He had a business to protect, and a dude got shot in the ass and a dude got shot in the knee. And you know who that character is from him looking at that dude who wasn't doing the damn thing and he still shot him.
Yeah. He's not a nice man. He's not even a good man, but you can trust him.
Yeah. And I love it's kind of like the getting the band back together
Oh,
montage.
always here for a band back together.
Exactly. It's just like, yeah, let's go get all these people and let's have a good time. Like that could have been the entire movie for me, and I've been like, this is fine.
It's great.
I'm good.
If every 10 minutes we shoot somebody in the ass,
Or the knee.
and they pick an extremity and just pop somebody in it.
Yeah. I would have been happy with that. And then, we get vampires and we get like also I didn't look this up before, but bravo to the special effects
Mm.
designers, like those people, they knocked that shit out the park.
And the fucking cinematographer,
Oh
Autumn
yeah.
Arkapaw,
Yes.
you know, they shot in like every kind of film stock you can shoot in, from like the giant fucking IMAX to 70 millimeter to 16, to whatever the fuck, Spectravision.
Hmm.
Like, she's hauling these giant ass cameras into the fucking bayou, into the delta. Like, that's real. And it looks great. It's a
Yeah,
gorgeous fucking movie.
it is.
It's a
So
gorgeous.
you hope that this is one of those films. Like it came out obviously early in the year, but I suspect if Warner Brothers is smart, they'll drop this back in theaters. If not in October because it's spooky season, but November just to remind Academy voters
Yeah.
it exists.
That'd be a super smart move. I mean, because
Or like Honora, they should, take the time now to start making physical screeners
yes.
and
And this,
send that shit out.
send it to people. Um, because
Turns out giving, the older members of the Academy physical screeners to watch makes a difference.
I remember being at Entertainment Weekly, and Ron Howard came and gave us, like, every now and again we'd have a filmmaker, an actor, whatever, come and do an office visit. He was promoting The Grinch, of all fucking movies. Um, but he was talking about the fact that ultimately he was the first person to campaign at the motion picture and television old age home,
Yeah.
because his dad was in the home.
Mhm.
Rance Howard, like, he comes from a fucking showbiz family. And so he realized that this place is filled with nothing but old actors, writers, and directors who can still vote. And so if I come here like the grandkid who's going to visit his grandparents, but do that for, 700, 800 of these guys, and then go to the other one, and then go to the other one, then go to the
Mhm.
one that's in New York, and the one that's in Arizona, and the one that's wherever. And he sort of pioneered that, like, old people campaign. But that's the voting block. And like, and
Mhm.
if you don't rely on them to get their grandkids to tune up the Apple TV or whatever, like, send them a DVD.
Yeah. They know how to do that.
Yeah. And they will vote for you because they saw it,
Yes.
instead of like, so I heard that that's a good movie. They get to see it.
Yeah.
Um, so listen, and hey, audience, if you're out there in the world and if you're thinking about Sinners, you'll have some time to go see it. You will not have a ton of time to see it in IMAX because it's a couple weeks before something else comes out. Then there's, well, I think
It's 1 week.
Thunderbolts is going to steal a lot of the IMAX
May
screen.
is next week, Mark.
Yeah, May 2nd is when Thunderbolt shows up, and that's going to take a lot of the IMAX screens. It'll still, I have to think, will be on a few, but the exclusive window of all IMAX being Sinners is coming to a close.
Yeah.
Uh, so if that's how you want to see it, go see it. I know in LA there is one theater in all of LA that's showing it in the idealized version, the like IMAX 70 millimeter 15 perf, whatever that is. Ryan Coogler's has handily put an explainer up on the internet as to what the various film formats are, but that is the one that he says, if you're going to see it in its intended format, that's the one. It's at the AMC City Walk. Um, I know your least favorite theater in the world.
I enough.
Enough.
You've heard my rants.
Yes, they're passionate.
Like my post movie reviews when we're standing outside in the vestibule or the lobby
Yeah, just shouting our desires to the skies.
or
If you haven't
getting
seen
yelled at by white ladies.
it,
I'm
um,
not joking. We've gotten yelled at by.
we have, in Craven of all things.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Um, yeah, that happened. Um, but yes, go see Sinners. It is
Mhm.
100% a movie that is worth seeing in the theater. It's 100% a movie worth talking about with other people, and engaging with some of the online discourse, because this is a movie that is actually eliciting quite a lot of really interesting conversation, a lot
Mhm.
of history, a lot of, both film criticism, cultural criticism. A lot of it is coming to the surface. And I think that's a special thing. We're engaging with this movie in a way we don't engage with a lot of movies. And so, be a part of it, man. Come and hang out with culture. It's a good thing for everybody.
It's nice. It's like, every couple of years we get these zeitgeisty films.
You
Like,
know,
I think the last one was Barbie and Oppenheimer.
like, and I remember, speaking, I think you mentioned that it will be sadly, probably an anomaly,
Hmm.
uh, because when Hollywood doesn't understand why a thing is a hit, they don't understand how to embrace the thing that's a hit. And so they just ascribe it to something was in the water. We
Hmm.
don't know why people came. We're not sure why they responded. You know, Inception was that way. They like, you'd think we would just start greenlighting a bunch of really good, interesting thrillers. Nope. This will be the one. The Bodyguard was that thing. It's like, hey, this movie made $300 million and it's an interracial romance. Are we going to ever make another one? No, we're not. Okay. I mean, don't you want money? Not that.
Apparently not, because I keep forgetting was it UCLA or someone did a study where it's like Hollywood is leaving $10 billion on the floor by ignoring black and brown films. Like you'd think the fucking Fast and the Furious would have, it's like, hey, there's money to be made here. It's like, no. It's because of the cars. I mean, yes and no, but
Sure.
$10 billion every year they are losing that they could be making by getting us, more of us, into the theaters. And they
Yeah,
don't want to do it.
they're just not interested. Um, yeah, that is for the longest time, the narrative has always been the only color Hollywood cares about is green.
Mm-mm.
But then you see the numbers and you're like, well, if they cared about green, they'd want more of it. And then they just embrace, alas. Um, JC, do we have any questions or should we just bid ourselves a fond adieu? Did we lose JC? Did JC fall asleep?
Nope.
I
I don't
think
believe we have
because he's not
questions.
on
I
anymore.
have not
Or
seen
no,
any
he just turned off his
questions.
camera.
Yeah,
Do you have me? Do you hear me?
maybe there is no Q&A.
I mean, I can look in the comments and see if people have questions. The Rock and Vin Diesel are black. AI Smits. Okay. I don't know if I said that right.
There he is. Hi, JC.
Oh, someone was like, what did you do to get yelled at by white ladies? We were talking about Craven.
We laughed at Craven.
We laughed at a
Oh,
stupid fucking moment in Craven. And this woman who was like taking the movie seriously yelled at us. It was the Craven. It's like my name is Craven with a K. And like a couple of us are just like, ha, that is a stupid line of dialogue. Sorry. Yeah, and we got yelled at.
it didn't stop us though.
No.
Yeah, I don't have any questions from the audience, and now, although now they're popping in,
They're
so
popping in.
Oh,
the audience
wait.
is asking questions now.
Steven Bazin, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. If you had a band named Chekhov's Coos, of course, this is the question that I go for.
Mm.
Which DC or Marvel characters would you put in your band, Mark?
Ooh. Um,
Who's gonna be your lead singer for Chekhov's Coos?
um,
We're gonna go to brunch, and you and I are just gonna be giggling, and people are gonna be like, "What is wrong with you two?"
just Chekhov's coos. I think the Toad of the X-Men universe with the giant tongue is the lead singer.
I mean, okay, because
Um,
of the tongue.
is it the tongue? Um, I feel like um no, that's just all. It's a solo act because there's almost nobody else who's going to be better than that. And the minute I like put a female character into Chekhov's coos, then it just goes the wrong way.
Or it could be an all-female band. Did you ever stop to think about that, Mark?
I was still focused on the tongue. Yeah, yeah. Strong question though. I wish I just had a Chekhov's Cuckoos. All right, what are the three top most influential movies on your writing? All right. That comes from SM Alls. I think we can both confidently state that Aliens is one of them. Um, Ocean's 11 was actually a bit of a breakthrough movie for me in that there was some script I was working on and I was struggling on like there's this old storytelling maxim, this old screenwriting maxim that your protagonist needs to have an arc. He needs to evolve over the course of a movie. He needs to not be the same person he was at the end as he was at the beginning.
Mm.
And I was like, I was struggling with that for a little bit. And then I saw Ocean's 11. And I was like, that motherfucker's the same motherfucker throughout the entire movie. And then it was like, James Bond is always the same motherfucker. Indiana Jones is the same motherfucker. Like, that,
Usually every horror movie protagonist is the same character, except it's just with trauma.
you got hurt.
Yeah, they're gonna need serious fucking therapy after
Yeah.
the night they've survived.
Like, yes, there are plenty of characters who evolve over time. Luke Skywalker is not the same guy as he was at the beginning of Star Wars as he is at the end of Star Wars. But that is not some hard and fast rule that you have to obey and live by. And I think that Almost Famous. Because I'm not that kind of writer now. I will probably never write just like a straight character movie. Although like every movie is about character, but like there's a level of introspection about Almost Famous. There's a level of play about Almost Famous, but there was just such a deeply felt sweetness to that movie, despite all the things that happen in it. Um, it's the movie that I saw when I was still a journalist that convinced me that I didn't want to be a journalist anymore. Even though it's all about journalism. It's the thing that kind of just propelled me into like journalism can also be a stepping stone. Doesn't have to be the end all be all. And for Cameron Crowe to make a movie about his past as a journalist was really like, it's not that it had a massive impact on my writing, it had a big impact on me as a writer. So those will be my three. What do you think, Kayla?
Aliens, obviously, I'm not gonna even pretend. Like influence on writing,
Hmm.
Aliens, and this might be shocking, but Clerks, which that was one of the back when Barnes and Nobles was the Amazon of booksellers. They did have what smaller book chains didn't, which was a film and TV section, and they sold screenplays like in book form. And so Clerks and Chasing Amy came in like this double book thing, and so that was the first time I'd actually seen what a script looks like.
Hmm.
And so I just kind of made Clerks and Chasing Amy like the template for how a screenplay should go.
Hmm.
And then the internet became a thing. Yes, I'm older than when the internet was a normal thing. And so at a certain point, you had websites that I don't know how they got them, but they started uploading PDF copies of scripts. And I like found Aliens
Hmm.
and Terminator and just started like collecting those that I could. But the next big one, which was also a book that I got at Barnes and Nobles, the third one would be Pulp Fiction. That one I was like, I saw that and I was just fascinated by. I'm like, okay, how does this work?
Hmm.
As like, did he write it like this, or did he edit it like? And he wrote it like that. I'm like, oh, okay. So like he just wrote it how he saw the story playing out in his head, and it was like a huge educational thing for me.
Yeah, it is kind of a hell of a thing the first time you see a screenplay, because it was hard to do back when
Hmm.
younger folks. I think the first time that I saw one, at least even pages of one, was in the back of Sid Field's screenplay book, which I think was the first book that I ever read about screenwriting. And I think there's, I mean, the book is not entirely helpful. I think if
Mhm.
what you want to do is like learn how to do it, but in just giving you the nomenclature, telling you what the terms are, giving
Yes.
you the language, um, and then having pages of script in them, was super important. But I think the first screenplay that I ever read was The Terminator,
Mm.
which I think I bought, off of some like NYU students who were just running things off a photocopier in Washington Square Park. And
Yeah.
for like $10, you could just buy a screenplay. And I think that was the one that I watched. I bought and then I watched it and then just read it like side by side.
Yes.
Be like, oh, all right. So this is what he wrote to get that.
Hmm.
And granted, it's a bit of a cheat code because Cameron knew he was going to be directing it, but he still had to write it to get money for it. So at the
Yeah.
very least, it's, later on his screenplays would be very more shorthandy because it's like, I'm the one who's making it and I know that. But Terminator was the everybody's got to see it on the page to give me money to make it. And it's a great script, but I mean, because was a great writer once.
He doesn't really. Yeah.
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 Yeah, there's that intersection between where like money and craft kind of began as for him as a writer, where like the abyss is probably that sweet spot of like
Wait, did he write True Lies?
he co-wrote it with Bill Wisher, I think.
Yeah. Bill was also T2.
Yeah.
So.
Um, but yeah, I think it's and T2, which I do like quite a bit. My only knock is that it's mostly a remake of T1.
A Aliens is pretty much a remake of it, down to how do we kill this alien? Blow it out the airlock. I love that. I love it's like I'm not coming up with a new ending. Fuck it. I'm just gonna use the first ending, only on a bigger scale.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different movie that does some of the same things. Like this is a war movie and that one's a horror movie.
Yes.
But yes, we're just blowing a thing out of an airlock, which every Aliens movie is. What if we blew it out of an
You know, if it worked the first 10 times,
airlock?
maybe it'll work on the FX show. Oh, wait, they're on Earth.
Yeah. We need to invent an airlock.
That will shoot it into space.
Put it on a rocket.
This is how all of you die.
Sorry. Whoops. Um, have we any more questions or should we just let everybody go to sleep on this here Friday night?
I mean, it is Friday. They can stay up.
So what else were you doing? If you hear this long, you have no place else to go. I mean, we're here. Does aliens work without a ship? I don't know.
There's one, Greg Anthony. Where do you draw from when creating a new character, i.e., personal experience, someone's influence, etc.? I think we kind of touched on this earlier, Greg Anthony. Um, and that it's like usually it's pulling from, and I'm not going to speak for Mark, but like pulling from personal experience. Like I wrote an original horror film, fingers crossed it sells, but basically it's set at a high school in southeastern Missouri in the 80s. So I basically just took all of my classmates. Like I was watching I love the movie Dazed and Confused, and I make a point to watch it on like May 23rd, I think it is, every year when like they actually get out of school for summer and watch a lot of documentaries. And I read the Dazed and Confused companion novel, or not novel, the book about it. And there's this like funny antecedent about how Richard Linklater got sued by some of his former classmates because they recognized that like he used them as inspiration because he didn't change the names.
Oh yeah.
So I did that, but I changed the last names.
Smart.
But yeah, it's my classmates, and then like my parents will often find ways into the scripts, whether with their names or without their names. And then usually if I'm doing something for a studio, like if they bring me an IP or an idea, obviously I'm going off of, what they're trying to create while pulling in stuff that I know from.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like, and that's the thing with being a writer. It's like we are always paying attention to people, like even us introverts, because there's always something we'll be able to take and put into a character someday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think for me, it depends on what came first, the world or the character. Because ideas for me, like some of them, like here's a character. I don't know what I'm going to do with this character yet, but I like this person. I'm going to invent a world that this character would fit into, and here's going to be the drama, and it'll all kind of come organically that way. And then there are the ideas that show up as the world, as the big idea. And then it becomes, right now, who are the characters that I can invent who will let me tell this story in ways that I find interesting? And so then it's each of them are a different kind of push pull. One of them is, oh, this woman is fascinating. Here's her deal. Here's her trauma. Here's her origin story. Here's what makes her interesting. Here's what makes her special. Now, what's the story that I can tell, that I can engineer to reveal that specialness? Um, and so a lot of times that person is bespoke to the world, is bespoke to the idea. Um, but it is a matter of, like, yes, being incredibly observant, maybe even too observant at times. Like, at a bar or a coffee shop or a restaurant or whatever, and you're just paying a little too close attention to the people next to you because, like, oh, that's a couple having a fight. What's it about? I don't know. I'm only getting
Yeah.
one side of it, but oh, this is good. Oh, he slept with everybody. Oh,
Well, it's also it's I my friend from college is a nurse, and so she would do a lot of travel nursing early on. And I was hanging out with some of her and her nurse friends. And again, it's like they have an incredibly dark sense of humor.
hmm.
Like they kind of have to at a certain point with all that they've seen and had to deal with. But one of her friends was talking about how when she was a kid, she kept getting sick and her parents didn't know why. 'Cause, like she was vomiting and all that stuff. And then they found out, I think she was like 2 or 3. They found out her older brother was feeding her dog food.
Oh God.
And I was I thought it was hilarious, clearly. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna steal that. And I just look her dead in her eyes and I'm like, I'm gonna use that in something someday. So thank you.
You'll know it when you see
You
it.
and if I am like with in a group of people like that, I'll be like, I'm taking it, just so you know.
Yeah, that one's mine.
Yep, you said it out loud,
And I claimed it.
pretty much.
Dibs. Dibs. But yeah, like each one is different. Each script is different. Each story is different. But a lot, at least for me, a lot of it is both invention and then assimilation. Like, oh yeah, that person is fucked up. I'll never tell them that they're in this, but they're in this. Like I had a friend in high school who who was clear that he was the kind of person who was either going to be a priest or a cop or a lawyer because he needed an authority that was unquestionable but above him, or like in the military. Like I needed to have something to follow. I needed to have somebody needed to give me orders, and I needed to be able to rely wholeheartedly that those orders were legitimate and valid. And I always found it fascinating. Like there are just some people who need to have that, who need to have that surety of action, of clarity of purpose that can only come from following orders.
Yeah.
Um, and so that kind of person does kind of find their way into more than one thing of the, you know what, I'm just going to be the guy who does the thing that I'm supposed to do. And I don't have to question whether it's right or wrong because it's what I was told.
Hmm. Yeah, that is a very specific personality.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, God told me to do it. Slash, the courts told me to do it. Slash, the president told me to do it.
um,
Darnell Solomon, this is not a question. Akela Cooper seems like she's just the most wonderful person to be around. All smiles.
oh, thank you. I am when I am around like good people and good friends. Don't don't catch me after a notes call. Then I am not all smiles. I turn into an unhinged chaos gremlin.
with a stiff right hook.
Yes. I am like a demonic version of Stitch from Lilo and Stitch after a notes call.
Hence the booze.
Yes.
All right,
We
let's
can
see.
answer some more questions, but I do have to say, shout out to my mom who is watching and has been listening to her daughter and her daughter's friend talk about coos all night.
You know, I love your mom. Your mom's a riot. I look forward to her stabbing somebody else at Comic
I
Con.
know. It's like we're only half joking, but she did attempt to stab one of our mutual friends.
I mean,
She kind of
sometimes
had it coming.
that guy could use a good stabbing. All right,
He's
this
probably watching. He's like, "What did I do?"
like we're just catching strays all day.
In a podcast that he's not a part of.
Yep. Sorry, Jason. All right, this will be the last question from Primark 359. What kind of movies do you hope will get produced over the next decade? What trends do you hope continue, and what trends do you hope sputter out? Um,
Originals, damn it, like just a shift back to studios. There's that whole thing when Ryan Coogler made the deal he did, and studios made like nobody really knew what kind of deal it was until they started talking about it. It's also they Streisand affected themselves. Anyways, it's like, oh my God, if we have to give the rights, back to the creators every 25 years, we're not going to have studios. We're not going to have IP. I'm like, if you keep remaking shit over and over and over and over again, you're not going to have IP. Like, you're not going to have a studio. You have to make new things. Someone had to give James Cameron the money to make Terminator. Someone had to trust Ridley Scott to make Alien. Like, Beetlejuice. Like all of these movies, like that we all grew up, someone had to be like, you know what? Yeah, try that shit. See what happens. And now there's none of that anymore. So that is originals, whatever they may be. I'd like to see, and also with an R-rated horror film, as Mark pointed out, that has adult sexuality in it. Screw Gen Z and their prudity. We need more movies for fucking adults that are just for adults. Kids
and
will always have a Minecraft.
they're always in Minecraft, but I also remember like as a kid, the thing that I wanted to see more than anything was adult movies.
Because it
Like,
was, for a lot of you, it was forbidden.
yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
the thing.
not everybody had Akela's awesome parents, you know, and so like,
Like literally, my parents took me to see Bram Stoker's Dracula in theater. They took me to see Aliens in the theater, and Predator, and Tremors. Like, those are family films in our household.
yeah, but like you want nothing more as a 15-year-old to see a thing meant for an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old or a 25-year-old. Like, granted, you might not be ready for some of that shit, but you wanted it so badly. So like, make movies that kids transgressively want.
Yeah.
Like, do they want fucking Lilo and Stitch, the live action version? I don't know. But, I bet you they'd like to see fucking Chekhov's coos more than they want to see fucking Lilo and Stitch.
Maybe if it's between Chekhov's Coos and How to Train Your Dragon, I think How to Train Your Dragon live action is probably gonna win with the kids there.
Depending on the kid. Yeah. Depending on the kid.
I also, yeah, like originals film for adults and a wider variety of things. Everything is so, we're still in the era of the superhero, which is going to be interesting. Like living, I guess this is kind of like how my grandparents, like my mother's parents, people know what grandparents are, lived through, the death of the Western.
Mm,
Because the Western propped up Hollywood for decades, and then you couldn't sell Westerns internationally anymore, so it died off as a genre.
mm.
With occasionally like a film like, Tombstone or Unforgiven coming into play, but like the Western, it doesn't hold the power it does. And it's at some point we are going to see that happen with superhero films. And
Yeah.
then what's going to replace those?
Yeah, and then the other part of that is that Westerns were cheap, which is why there were so many of them.
Yep.
Superhero movies are not. And so, like, at what point do you want to be Warner Brothers staring down the barrel of how many of these movies did we have to make? They're all going to cost us $100 million. Some of them are not going to hit. We got to re-examine how deep we are, how invested we are in the superhero industrial complex.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I I have had a wonderful run with Marvel. There were, of the 37 Marvel movies we've had, I probably loved like 20 of them. But, that's a lot of a thing to just be the same thing.
Yeah.
I kind of, yeah,
I
like,
would say 4 for me.
yeah,
5. Thor Ragnarok. I really like that one.
yeah. I mean, everybody's mileage may vary, but they're all not good and they're all not bangers. They all made a certain amount of money, which is why they kept making more. But yeah, I mean, original shit, all kinds of shit. Claw back some of that real estate you gave away to streaming and to television, and to remember. I remember I was talking about this on a panel once. We are out of the age of spectacle as the reason people go to see anything, because there's not really anything you can put on screen anymore that is going to. There is no version of dinosaurs in Jurassic Park anymore.
No, and they keep trying, and it's like that is I can't remember. It might have been I want to say James Pargin, who's on TikTok, and he's like a big author. He wrote John Dies at the End,
Mm,
and his new book. I'm starting to worry about this Black Box of Doom, I think it's called. He's like really good. Like he also wrote for Cracked
mm,
for a really long time. He was talking about like the problem with sequels uh, is that the audience knows.
mm.
Like we know there are dinosaurs now. There's not going to be that wonder anymore. He did point out that like Aliens kind of got around that because it still had Ripley with this band of Marines who wasn't listening to her, and then they found a way to up the stakes with a new alien, which was the Queen alien and that whole thing. But there was also an emotional story at the end of it, or at the heart of it, which was her being a mom. Even though they cut that scene out where we learn she's a mom,
Right.
like there's that protective nature of Newt, and the Queen alien is like, you just killed all my babies. I'm gonna fuck you up. Like there's an emotional story to it. But I remember the first time I saw Jurassic Park. My parents took us to see it, and my mom is not in the comments, but she could attest to this. It's like it was the closest thing I had to a religious experience. Like
Yeah.
when they panned the camera around and you saw the brontosaurus or the brachiosaur for the first time. Like we had never 1993, we had never seen those kinds of special effects before. It
Yeah.
it, it looked and I was just like I teared up. I was so moved by it. And I remember that like there had been many movies along the way that was like I think I want to work in movies. And that for me was like I have to do this. I have to do this. This is an incredible feeling. And it's that sense of wonder. And it's the same thing with Terminator 2. Went to see that in theaters with my uncle in Atlanta. And when the T-1000, when they're in the institution and you've got the checkered floor
Mhm.
and the liquid Terminator comes out of the checkered floor, again, just minds blown, especially the child who was not supposed to be in that R-rated film who was sitting in between her parents. Just like, holy shit. That sense of wonder. It's like, you're never going to get that. But what you can do is the people that inspired you and me, Mark,
Mm.
let us create something new.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the only thing that now will have that same effect is character and story. Like, let me surprise an audience with a thing they didn't think they were going to get.
Mm,
But throwing digital money at a screen to show me a thing you think I'm going to be wowed by doesn't exist anymore.
Which
You can't show
one?
me dragons. You can't show me superheroes. You can't
I mean,
show
I
me.
still love dragons.
I love dragons, but I'm never like, you know what? I came for the dragon. It's the best dragon I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, I've seen good dragons.
Yes.
It's a cool dragon. I get it. But you got to do some shit with that dragon. Looking at it is no longer enough.
No, it's we've all become desensitized to special effects because it's old hat at this point. It's like, yeah, no, we've seen it. And also it's like I love Stan Winston, that man's creations, one of which is, this was his team. He directed this. He didn't necessarily design Pumpkinhead himself. But his creations, down to the freaking Predator, which he wasn't even brought on until the first Predator design sucked ass, and it sucked so much ass, they had to like emergency find someone to do it. And beautiful story. Stan Winston on a plane with James Cameron, and you want to talk about where inspiration comes from. Stan Winston was like, I always wanted to see, he was always fascinated by Rastafarians and like the dreadlocks and everything, which is where the Predator's dreadlocks came from. That was his fascination. And then James Cameron, who was being James Cameron, was like, you know what? I've always wanted to see mandibles. And I guess Stan Winston took that as a challenge, and he was like, fuck you, I can draw mandibles. And that's why his face opens up, is because James Cameron was like, hey, I've always wanted to see this. Can you do that? Fuck you, I can do that. Look, it's two friends on a plane.
Two friends on a plane. And
created an iconic monster.
Is Chekhov's coups. Because that mouth is going to open up.
It is. But I will say, before we hop off, like what you just said about characters is like, it's going back to Sinners. What are we all interested in? Michael B. Jordan as two separate twins, making them feel like, oh my God, is Michael Jordan actually a twin and I missed that? Some way, somehow. It's Annie. It's Mary. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw like Haley Steinfeld give such like an intense, great performance. Delroy Lindo is always awesome. There's no question there. Miles Catton, who is brand new, never done a movie before.
Yeah. They're all faces. They're all characters. They're all indelible. And it's funny, my memory of Terminator 2 is, yeah, Steel Dude being Steel Dude shit is awesome. But the twist of that movie, like, if all you saw was Terminator 1, which is all we had to go by, and there is no internet, there is no spoiler culture, you show up on opening weekend of that movie, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is the hero, the T-800 is the hero, and the other one is the bet. Like, that blew my fucking mind. And that's why that movie is great. That's the subversion of expectation that turns you into a fan, turns you into an acolyte. And that's the spectacle you can still generate. Like, subverting the expectation of an audience who thinks they know what they're going to get and giving them something they didn't know they wanted. Like, that's the job. I mean, I can see 1,000 spaceships, and I love spaceships. I can see 1,000 fucking laser beam battles, and I love laser beam battles. But if you're going to give me a fucking red wedding, then I'm here for it. If you're going to give me season 2, episode 2 of The Last of Us, then I'm here for it. But that's where you get my heart. Yeah. If you just fuck with me as an audience. And so, like, that's the thing that I'm always trying to do, because I just realized that we cannot wow anybody with an image unless that image is of character doing a thing that's surprising but inevitable.
Yeah, it's oddly, the proliferation of VFX has just brought us full circle back to character.
Yeah. Like, who's doing it? Why are they doing it? What's in the way of them doing it? And hey, if they're on a fucking laser motorcycle driving through the stars, dope. But they could also just be in a juke joint with
shooting people in the ass and the knees.
Adding an anus to that poor kid. Sorry, buddy. One too many holes.
Yep. Oh man, the person who's got to dig that bullet out
for $10. Do me a favor, patch those boys up. Little peels off two $10 bills.
Which also is a reminder. I was like, 20. That was a lot of money back then. That was a lot of money back then.
Went a long way.
I kept having to remind myself. I'm like, oh yeah, no,
It was
20
like,
bucks was a lot of money back then.
$200.
Yeah.
At a time when people were giving out wooden nickels, he's peeling off Yankee currency.
Yep.
All right. I think we will call it there. I hope everybody had a good time tonight in the chat, in the feed. I hope everybody's having a good time at home when they're watching. We spoiled a bunch of shit. We talked a bunch of shit, but all of it comes from a place of love. And I cannot thank my special guest host enough for coming to play with me on a Friday night. The great and wonderful Akela Cooper. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun. You know I love shooting the shit with you.
You know that I
Talking coos.
so many worse days than just getting
I love how no many times I say it, it will hit you and you'll be like, that's funny.
Coos. like the Stay Puft Marshmallow guy, but just coos. Yeah, I'm not sure when we're gonna get Kev back. Like I said, he's on the road until the end of the end of May, I think, is the end of the Dogma Resurrection tour. He may pop in here and there, you know, because he'll have travel days between his multiple city whistle stop tour. And so maybe we'll get another Kev podcast. But if not, you were stuck with Blackman Beyond. Today you got a twofer. Today you got the wonderful wisdom of Akela Cooper and the ham-fisted smatterings of me. But either way, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you to JC for staying
thank
up
you,
late.
JC.
A man who's suddenly outnumbered in his house, who is doing his best to stay awake. JC and I will be back next week. I think it's Wednesday we're talking about, to do a deep Star Wars dive. We got Andor to talk about. We have all the new celebration to talk about. I've seen.
What were they yelling? Niamos?
Yeah, it's all happening. Fucking Mon Mothma getting it. Fucking Chekhov's coos.
I was like, I'm not gonna say it again, and then you said it.
Never not saying it. Yeah, so next Wednesday, JC and I will throw down on a little Star Wars chat. We'll take it as it comes, guys. But thank you again for tuning in. Next week, same black time, same black channel, smodcast.com or youtube.com/Kevin Smith. Be good, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for being an awesome audience.
You're the best. All of y'all. Good night.
This is the cat.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the AKA Ask Kev Anything.
Every saga has a 10-year anniversary, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what happens when Jay and Silent Bob get old. I'm Kevin Smith.